Governor Parson had to put up with hecklers during his media briefing today. That's because the Capitol building is back open for the resumption of the legislative process. Gladys Bautista is there for us this evening.
Those protesters didn't get in without questioning from officials there. Those security guards, before you entered into the building, they asked those protesters, like they did me, what their temperature was and a few questions about their recent whereabouts. Now, these protesters were yelling at Governor Parson while he was briefing the media on everything about this Phase 1 reopen Missouri. They were telling him to reopen the state now. He stayed firm in saying that the state will be reopening 1 week from today. Now, Governor Parson says that there are a few restrictions to the Phase 1 reopening. He outlined his plan today. He says Phase 1 will go from May 4th, which is next Monday, until May 31st. Under these guidelines, all businesses are allowed to reopen with restrictions. As the governor says, all businesses are essential, so they have to follow certain rules to accomplish social distancing within the establishment. Occupancy requirements are going to be something business owners have to pay attention to going forward now, as retailers need to adhere to those as they begin to reopen. Now, throughout this reopening, schools will remain closed for the remainder of the school year.
This will be a deliberate process and is flexible to adapt to different situations. Some communities may be able to reopen at a faster rate. Nursing homes, long-term care facilities, retirement homes, and assisted living homes must continue to have stronger guidance to mitigate the risk of contracting and spreading COVID-19.
Now, the governor says that during this Phase 1, he and other state leaders will be looking to see how they can move into Phase 2 after seeing how this next month goes. Now, local state leaders are able to make their restrictions stricter. Like he said, places might reopen faster than others. They can make those restrictions stricter in certain places. What they cannot do is make those general baseline guidelines any looser. I'm live at the Capitol. Gladys Bautista, KRCG 13.
Some reporters found the governor's presentation fairly vague about those guidelines for reopening the state next week. He has directed business owners to a special website for information on the specifics. KRCG 13's Ashley Eddy has been online there and joins us now with some of what she's learned.
Kermit, the one thing Governor Parson made very clear, businesses and people should continue practicing social distancing guidelines. Now, on the other hand, he was more vague on how they should do that. But there are specifics laid out on a new website, showmestrong.mo.gov. Starting May 4th, restaurants will be able to offer dine-in services again with some limitations. Those limitations include proper 6 feet spacing of tables, no communal seating with parties that are not connected, and no more than 10 people at a single table. For retail, size restrictions are in place. This includes limiting the number of individuals allowed in a particular store as follows: 25% or less of the building's code occupancy for a location with square footage of less than 10,000 square feet, as well as 10% or less of the building's code occupancy for a location with square footage of 10,000 square feet or more. These are similar guidelines for retail Governor Parson had outlined in his original social distancing order before going with a stay-at-home order. And though school is now out for the remainder of this academic year, DHSS says summer school may proceed under guidelines set forth by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And Kermit, there's a lot of information to sift through. Some things not completely clear just yet. Governor Parson says some of those questions will be answered throughout the week coming up. For more information, you can go to the showmestrong.mo.gov website. That information on the website, there is a FAQ page that you can access. Kermit, we'll send it back to you.
All right, a lot of that activity puts us rather close to one another again. KRCG 13's Kyrion Lee joins us live to tell us what officials have to say about enforcement of social distancing going forward.
Currently, gatherings of more than 10 people are restricted. However, Governor Parson says once that reopening order goes into effect on May 4th, there won't be any limitations on social gatherings. as long as people are taking the necessary precautions and keeping that 6 feet of distance between individuals and or families. And based on the reopening phases, Missourians can go to movie theaters and attend events at large venues or stadiums. However, seating should be spaced out according to social distancing requirements. This will apply to events such as amusement parks and attractions, concerts, funerals, museums, school graduations, and weddings. He says local officials will have the authority to put together further restrictions, rules, regulations, or ordinances in place as long as they are not inconsistent with the statewide order. Parson says the state is working with local health authorities to support the order, and health authorities as well as law enforcement maintain the same jurisdiction and authority they have always had. Parson says Missourians should still take protective precautions such as staying home if you're sick, washing your hands often, and avoid large gatherings that are not using social distance, and also minimize that travel.